In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Live Ryan in English News with me, Niwan Chitsas. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, in a message on Monday, expressed condolences over martyrdom of a number of Iranian Navy forces on a vessel and wished the wounded quick recovery. Omid Haydari has a scoop.
President Rouhani, in his condolences message, wrote the tragic accident for a vessel of the Islamic Republic of Iran's Navy and the martyrdom and injury of a group of Navy personnel that took place during a naval exercise to increase national security and maintain and strengthen the country's defense readiness caused deep grief and sorrow. Praising the services of the Homeland Defenders, he said, "I offer my heartfelt condolences to you, the zealous soldiers and the bereaved families." 19 crewmen were killed and 15 others injured in an incident involving the Iranian Navy's Konarak logistic vessel in the country's southern waters. The Navy said in a statement on Monday the incident occurred on Sunday when a number of Navy vessels were conducting exercises near the waters laying close to Josk and Chabar ports. Meantime, chief commanders of Iran's Army and Islamic Revolution Guard Corps expressed their condolences on the martyrdom of the Iranian Navy personnel during the naval exercise. A message following the martyrdom of a number of Navy sailors in the warship accident, Commander of the Iranian Army, Major General Sayyid Abdurrahim Musavi, expressed his deepest condolences to the leader of the Islamic Revolution and the bereaved families as well as all his fellow soldiers. Also, Iran's RIGC Chief Commander, Major General Hossein Salami, in a message addressed the leader of the Islamic Revolution, the bereaved families and all Iranian armed forces personnel, expressed his condolences over the martyrdom of the sailors of the Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran during the Navy drill.
Meantime, President Rouhani said the self-sacrifice of the Iranian nation, especially the medical staff, over the fight against the coronavirus must be recorded in history. Speaking at a symposium with anti-coronavirus activists in East Azerbaijan and West Azerbaijan provinces, President Rouhani called the great nation of Iran victorious. The president added, "Unlike some countries, in Iran, everyone, whether Iranian or non-Iranian, who contracted corona was treated free of charge, and this was one of the highlights in the country." Stating that if the people did not help, we could not have succeeded, the president added, "It is a successful nation that everyone should join hands and work together, and the people have helped very well in this regard." At the meeting, the officials of the East and West Azerbaijan provinces also presented reports on the process of dealing with the coronavirus in their provinces. Head of Iranian Health Ministry's Public Relations Office said on Monday that 45 more Iranians died from coronavirus over the past 24 hours, and 87,422 people out of a total of 109,286 infected with the virus have survived and recovered. Kianush Jahanpur added, "Unfortunately, the total number of deaths reached 6,685. Jahanpur said, 1,683 new infected cases have been detected since Sunday. He added, 601,324 tests have so far been carried out in Iran. Elsewhere, Iran's deputy health minister said a good screening was carried out in the country. In a press conference held at the Ministry of Health and Medical Education on Monday, Ali Reza Reisi said, with the participation of people and within a month, 78 million people were screened, and in the second phase, this number has reached 32 million. He added, good cooperation of the nation to observe social distancing and personal hygiene has caused a declining trend in active COVID-19 infections. Reisi referred to the closure of educational departments, saying, "We witnessed unexpected days in the country, so none of the people came out on the Iranian Nature's Day, and we saw the result of this action on the reduction of infections by the coronavirus." He also announced in the second phase we focused on vulnerable or those with serious underlying health conditions. He added, the launch of 400 outpatient testing centers for COVID-19 has also significantly reduced the number of patient visits to hospitals. Now, the coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting 212 countries and territories around the world, with 4,231,897 active cases and 285,480 deaths. Fortunately, 1,516,976 people have recovered from the deadly virus. Here's more.
Coronavirus has killed more than 81,000 people in the United States and has laid off 33 million Americans. The worst global unemployment record was set last month in the United States, with 20.5 million unemployed in 1 month. These days, New York, the economic capital of the U.S., has become the capital of the coronavirus in the United States, with nearly 27,000 people listed as those who lost their lives to coronavirus. The Newsweek predicts that the economic impact of the coronavirus outbreak will cause 43 million Americans to lose their insurance coverage. In Europe and in Russia and Britain, the number of new cases is still high. In Russia on Monday, 11,000 new cases have been identified. Russia has 221,344 active corona cases and 2,009 deaths. In Britain, 268 people have been added to the list of dead people from the coronavirus. Britain has over 223,000 coronavirus cases and over 32,000 deaths. However, the government in such a situation is seeking to reduce restrictions and limitations across the country. The number of the new cases in Italy continues to decline, reaching 802 in one day, the lowest in 65 days. Italy has nearly 220,000 COVID-19 cases, with 30,739 deaths. France has reported the lowest daily deaths toll in recent weeks, with 70 deaths from coronavirus. It has nearly 177,000 corona cases and 26,308 deaths. Coronavirus has plunged Europe's economy into a historic slump. The European Commission has published a forecast for the state of the economy in 2020, which shows a 7.7% decrease in the European economy in 2020. In Turkey, after 2 months, the shopping malls and public places have been reopened to the public. Turkey has nearly 140,000 corona cases and 3,841 deaths. In South Korea, coronavirus has now reached its final stop and schools are preparing to reopen. 35 new cases have been identified in the country on Monday. In China, 17 new cases of coronavirus have been reported in the past 24 hours. But in Tokyo, Japan, health ministry officials say more than 90% of the capacity of hospitals allocated to coronavirus-affected patients are full. It has 15,777 active COVID-19 cases.
Elsewhere, in an order on Monday, President Rouhani appointed Hossein Mudaris Khiabani as the caretaker of the Ministry of Industry, Mine and Trade. Khiabani is to replace ex-minister Reza Rahmani. President Rouhani has urged Khiabani to pay specific focus on market management and supply of basic goods, organizing car prices, removing production barriers, improvement of domestic production, development of non-oil exports, and improving the business environment in Iran. Meantime, in a phone conversation with new Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi, President Rouhani said, Iran, as always, will support Iraqi government successes in favor of its people, adding, the Islamic Republic has always stood by Iraq in line with both nations' interests. He congratulated al-Kadhimi for his election as Iraq's new premier and expressed happiness for assigning a person who was aware of recent developments in Iraq. The Iranian president added, independence, political stability, national sovereignty, and integration of Iraq is important for Iran. He also hoped for promoting Tehran-Baghdad more than ever. The president said, we must be aware of conspirators who have targeted interests of Iraq and regional countries. Stressing the importance of maintaining security, peace, and stability in the region, the Iranian president said, "As we proved in fighting the ISIL terrorist group, we are standing by Iraqi nation. Now we will stand with Iraq in line with its progress." Elsewhere in his remarks, President Rouhani underlined developing trade cooperation between the two countries. He emphasized establishing trade interactions through land borders, activating border markets, and implementing agreements such as oil pipeline, Shalamcher railways, and dredging Arvand River. Pointing to the outbreak of coronavirus in Muslim countries and the need to exchange information and knowledge, President Rouhani voiced Iran's readiness for presenting any aid to Iraq for fighting the COVID-19. Meantime, Al-Kazemi described Iran as a friend and brother, saying, "Iran's assistance as a key regional state in establishing stability and security in Iraq, and especially in fighting the ISIL, will not be forgotten." He called for reinforcing relations with Iran in all fields. Referring to a sensitive situation in the region and the world, Al-Kazemi said, "Problems will be solved with wisdom." He said, "Reopening borders and resuming interactions will develop economic ties." Iran's judiciary chief warned the Zionist regime in the United States that annexing parts of the West Bank to the occupied territories will trigger a new intifada in Palestine and the region. In an address to a Monday meeting of the Judiciary Supreme Council, Ebrahim Raisi denounced the U.S. support for the Zionist regime plan for annexation of the West Bank to the occupied territories. The top Iranian judge noted, "Such move will definitely create a new intifada all over the occupied territories and in the region, which will make the U.S. and the occupiers of the Holy Quds regret." He also said, "While the issues concerning Palestine and the region used to be resolved at the negotiating table in the past, today the anti-Israeli resistance front and the fighters on the field have developed initiatives and will never allow the evil objectives of the arrogant powers to materialize." This comes as the Zionist regime military on Monday said its forces demolished the home of a Palestinian accused of being behind a deadly blast on the West Bank last year. The Zionist regime says 22-year-old Qassam Barghouti carried out the attack in August, which killed 17-year-old Israeli Rina Shenrab and wounded her father and brother as they were hiking down to a spring in the West Bank near the settlement of Dolev. Witnesses said several Palestinians were injured, including one that Red Crescent said was hit in the head with a gas canister in the protests that followed the demolition. The Zionist regime says demolishing the family homes of alleged militants deters violence, while critics say the tactic amounts to collective punishment. And on that note, we come to wrap up this edition of RIN in English News. Join us tomorrow with the latest updates. Goodbye.